Hey, everybody. It's me, Janice Anderson. Okay, just checking to make sure that I can see myself. Can I see myself? Is it streaming? Doom, 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 doom. If anyone's out there, let me know that you can see me, you can hear me. You know, things have been a little wonky in social media land, so I want to just make sure that all is well. Yes, I see myself. Okay, let's see if I can hear myself a little bit. Can see myself. Things have been a little wonky in social media land. So I want to just make sure that all is well. Yes, I see myself. Okay. Let's see if I can hear myself a little bit.
Listen, I'm so excited about today's conversation.
Things have been a little wonky.
Yes, okay.
In social media land. Good. Hey, it's me, Janice Anderson. Oh my gosh, I am so excited about today's conversation. It's been a minute. And I hope you've had all the time you need to get all of the stuff out that you needed to get out, to make up your mind on how you're going to show up in this hour, in this season, because I am ready. I'm ready for us to do what we were designed to do. You've been preparing for years. You prayed and fasted. You've even journaled and made the list a long time ago. You've bought the equipment, taken the class. Yes, you. You've served behind the scenes. You've watched others step boldly into positions that you have been built for, praying for, been waiting on an opportunity for you to just, own. And yet, you still in the same position, waiting on the right moment, twiddling your thumb. Or for some of you, I see y'all, you're a keyboard warrior these days and you got a lot to say on the keyboard. But today, as your sister, for some people, your mentor, for some of you, your strategic advisor, your consultant on the side, I'm here to give you the wake-up call that you know you need. You've been holding back, thinking it through, getting your plan together. I can see some of you, you're getting your plan together. I know it's time for me to step up. I know it's time for me to do what I need to do. I know now is the time. Or maybe you over there, like many, your heart is kind of wounded by things that have been happening in the world around us, and you are licking your wounds, nursing your heart. Really, it doesn't matter how you want to call it or what you want to call it. Can we be real? Can I just call it what it is? You're still sitting on the thing that God has called you to do, sitting on the thing that God has called you to release. And this is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to second guess who you are. This is not the time to fall back. No. Now is the time for you to stand up, to take your place, to take up space, and to move with the divine authority and confidence required to thrive in this season. I'm watching, and I see so many leaders doing the things that are counter to who God designed them to be, making moves, making statements, saying things, doing stuff that just don't line up. And I don't say this lightly, so please hear me. This is a sacred moment in time. And what you do with this moment, how you steward this moment, is really going to determine the trajectory of your path, of the impact you were designed to make, of the influence God has given you to steward, what you do in this moment. So look around. There's instability. There have been drastic changes, unexpected loss, lots of devastation. You have witnessed it in your time, in your lifetime. And yet, so many leaders, dare I say you, the one who has a divine mandate and has been given a divine agenda, I see you shrinking, hesitating, or staying silent. So I came here today to say this. Shrinking back is not wisdom. And for you, shrinking back might mean, I'm just going to get in the cut over here. I'm just going to stay in my prayer closet over here. I'm just going to get in my corner. Shrinking back, that's not humility. Nope. It's not wisdom. It's selfish. And it's poor stewardship of what God has deposited in you. For those of you who are new here, I'm Janice Anderson. And for the past 2 decades, I have had the awesome opportunity to walk alongside high achieving Christian leaders, helping them to build, brand, and expand their God given influence without fear, hesitation, compromise, or waiting for permission. I've worked with founders, executives, business owners, and ministry leaders to help them position themselves, their work, their lives to be seen, heard, and to make their undeniable contribution in the world around them. And this is what I can tell you with full confidence. The difference between those who are leading, who are in the forefront, and those who are lagging, who are in the background, it's not skill. It's not even money. It's a decision. So today, I want to share with you 3 shifts that you need to make in order to move from hesitation or ideation. For some of you, we like to use big words to cover up what's really going on. So we say, I'm just ideating right now. Yeah, but you scared and you hesitating, to manifestation, to seeing the fullness of the thing that God called you to do, live and live in color, making the impact God called you to make. I want you to go ahead and tag a leader that you know can benefit from this conversation. If they heard this, this conversation about stepping up, about doing the thing and being the person God called them to be in this hour. If they heard this and they changed and they made this catalytic shift, others around them would change and transform. If you know a person like that, tag that person in this video. And if you're here with me live, let me know where you're listening from. Let me know in the comments. I can see your comments and I'd love to know where you're listening in from. So let me know. So let's talk about why you're still waiting. I know some of you are like, okay, Janice, I hear you. I'm already with you. Now is the time, but I'm waiting and I got a good reason to wait. Some of you are over here saying, I'm too busy. I just got a lot going on. If you only knew my schedule, if you only knew my life, can I go ahead and say this? We make time for the things we prioritize. And I get it. It is a busy time. And if you look at the way the world is structured right now, it is designed to keep you on a constant wheel. But if you know God is giving you something, He's gifted you with something, He's entrusted in your care something that can transform lives, busyness is not an excuse. Or maybe that's not what you're saying. You're saying, my family needs me. My family needs me. I hear you. I'm going to do the thing God called me to do. I'm with you, Janice. I'm just waiting on the right time. And right now, my highest calling is to my family. I love that. I can hear you. And I support that. Your calling does not need to cancel nor compete with your family. Hear me. It does not need to cancel out your family, take a back seat to your family, nor does it need to compete with your family. But what I have found in this work, not just in my life, but just in serving other people as well, that when we neglect our calling, it negatively impacts our family. The last thing that I hear people say, why they're waiting, why now is not the time for them, is I'm not quite ready. I'm getting ready though, Janice. I'm almost ready. I work with a lot of leaders and, I'm telling you, I hear all sorts of things. And one thing I hear when I meet someone and I see what's in them is something that is God-sized, that if they dare said yes to that thing, if they dared acted on it, things would change and they would change in an exponential way. Many of them don't feel ready. They're getting their things together. I work with plan and action type of people. So they're planning and they're studying and they're making sure they're thoroughly equipped. Can I go ahead and let you know, if you're saying that I'm going to do it, I'm just not ready yet. I got a couple more things I need to get in place first. If that's you, no one feels ready. We never feel ready. Readiness comes as a result of movement, and it won't come before that. So today I want to talk about 3 core shifts you must make in order to step up rather than shrink back and be who God called you to be in the hour when we need you most. So these are 3 shifts that's going to help you to stop waiting or settling and start really walking out the mandate that God has for you in this hour. And I promise you, if you make these shifts, everything will change. Okay, so get a pen and paper. And if you haven't already, I want you to go ahead and tag somebody so they can hear this message. You can have someone to discuss this with. And then if you're here with me live, just drop in the comments where you're listening from. Okay, so shift number one, you ready? I want you to shift from being reasonable to radical. From being reasonable to radical. Now, I know if you like me and you type A, and you know, and I'm the oldest. So I'm type A and I'm the oldest child. And I grew up in a home where it was a religious home. We went to church and we followed the rules. Reasonable is my middle name. So in order to step up in this hour and leave the mark and move from ideation to manifestation of the things that God has told you to do, the things that he's called you to steward in this hour, you got to shift from reasonable to radical. What do you mean reasonable? Okay, so let me just be real with you. Okay, because I'm talking about reasonable excuses. I had to label it reasonable because I know who I'm dealing with. If I tell you had an excuse, you're like, oh, I don't have no excuses. I'm not a person of excuses. I honor my word. I do what needs to get done. So you're a person of reason, right? You're wise and you make reasonable decisions. Okay. So for you, let's shift from reasonable excuses to radical ownership. So listen, if we just look at my life, I know this one all too well. I have several reasonable excuses of why I should not be doing the thing that God is calling me to do in this hour. I'm a married mother of 3. And each of my daughters is in a different generation. I have a daughter that's in her 20s. I have a daughter that is a teenager, and I have a daughter that's a toddler. That in and of itself is enough for me to say, you know what, Lord, I got you. As soon as I raise these kids and all that they have going on, I'm here for you. I am going to do whatever it is that you call me to do. Whatever book you want me to write, I'm going to write it. Whatever podcast you want me to record, I will record it. Lord, whatever video you want me to make, I got you. Let me raise these kids. Oh, by the way, remember that man you sent my way? You showed me him in a dream, the one that I love so much. God, he got a whole set of needs and stuff. Let me just get that together. Then I'm going to do that. But I'm just not a married mother of 3 daughters from 3 different generations. I'm also the founder of 2 companies and the chief marketing officer of another. And they're not like baby companies doing baby things. Yeah, they're significant companies doing significant things. And yet they require my brain power, my presence, my strategy, my oversight in some areas. Yet there are always bills to pay and schedules to manage. There are a list of 1,000 little things that need me right in this moment. But each time I choose to teach, each time I choose to write, each time I choose to speak or to coach someone, it draws them closer to their divine design. It sets somebody free and on the trajectory of what God has called them for. Someone is activated in their assignment. Someone's vision is amplified throughout the earth. I know that every time I say yes, every time I step up, is a time where God is made amplified in the earth. Now imagine if I had said, I'll wait till my kids are grown. If I had said, you know what, let somebody else do that. There's a lot of other people who can do this. People are excited to do this. It's on the internet. They can read the book. They can go to the class, get the certification. You know what? Not right now. Or if I had said, and y'all know this, what I'm constantly saying. Let me just get one more class first. Let me take one more seminar, one more workshop, one more master class, because I'm not quite yet. I know there's a new way to do this right now. I want to up my skills. What if I had said that? What would that have cost? So my first question for you, if you're listening to me, is this: what is your hesitation costing you? What is your hesitation in stepping up costing your family? What is your hesitation costing those that God has specifically placed in the world around you that are waiting on you to step up? What is it costing you? If you're brave, drop it in the chat. So shift number 1, you got to shift from reasonable excuses to radical ownership. That, Father, if you entrusted this skill, this talent, this ability, this idea in my brain, in my hands, and surely I'm going to find a way or make a way to step up and walk it out. The second shift that I know we need to make in this hour, in this time, to move from this place of ideation and hesitation to full manifestation of who God designed us to be in an hour like this one, you got to shift from being available to being visible. Yeah, you got to shift from being available to visible. I hear you. What do you mean, Janice, available? I mean, I know y'all pray those real cute prayers. Lord, I'm surrendered. I'm fully surrendered. You know, I work with leaders, and most of the leaders that I support, they love the Lord. They have a relationship with him that's real and that's personal. And so they will use a lot of spiritual language, okay? They will say things that sound so cute and so holy and so saved. Yeah, you know, I am surrendered. I am surrendered. The outcome is up to the Lord. I'm just here, and whatever he wants to do with me, whatever he wants to do through me, I am here. And for those that I have the awesome opportunity to walk alongside in an intimate way, whether it's through coaching or consulting, whether it's a mentorship opportunity, or maybe I'm facilitating a workshop, I love when they say that to me, because it's in those moments that I get to be real with them. I get to say, oh, you scared. Oh, you're not sure what to do next. Oh, you're settling. It's easy to say, here I am. That's the easy part, to raise your hand and say, here I am, Lord. We're leaders. Come on, y'all. We've been doing this for a long time. I'm not talking to people who are not high achievers. I'm talking to people who make things happen. This is what you do. That's the easiest part, to say, yeah, I'm here. I got this. But what does it look like? I'm thinking about one of my clients. For years, my client kept his profound gift, his talent, his ability, his anointing within the four walls of his home church. Now, this was not an easy thing. This was not even a light thing. And as I share his story, I am not saying quit your church, okay? And I'm not even saying don't serve in your local ministry. I'm saying the Lord deposited such great things inside of this young man. And when people would call him, then he'd go out and he'd share, you know, but for the most part, his gifts were within his church. Now, his church is a big church. There are thousands of people there at his church. His church is in a major metropolitan area, so him serving in his church was not a light thing. As a matter of fact, him serving in his local church, he was leading weekly. The church service was streamed over the internet. He was up 4 o'clock in the morning, lead others through into prayer, reaching tens of thousands just through his local church. He even hosted online a weekly prayer session. But even then, that was him being available, not him being visible. Even then, see, what happens when we are settling and we are phenomenal, breakout, trailblazing people, our settling, I like to say it like this, our average is somebody else's aspiration. Your average, whatever is average for you, is someone else's aspiration. It's average for you to get up and stream every single week. That ain't even cost you that much. It was low-key easy because you set in your mind, this is what you're going to do. You're going to set your equipment up. You're going to do what you need to do. It's easy. Now listen, it's not just the tactical nature of what he was doing when I think about my client. It wasn't just that he was doing a weekly live stream or he was leading others in prayer. The thing that he was doing, the work that God called him to do, is to not only lead people through prayer, but to teach how to pray in a way that gets results, that transcends generational blockages, that transforms individuals and nations and territories. And yes, he was doing it and is doing it very well in that environment. But who he is was designed to equip others to embody a life of prayer. And when I looked at him and I met him and I got a chance to experience what he was doing, I deemed him what I call often when I'm helping people to build brand and expand their vision. The first phase, one of the first earlier phases, is become a local legend. He was a local legend. He had mastered saturating where he was. He I think someone said it before, bloom where you're planted. He'd mastered blooming where he was planted. That was easy. I mean, it was work for him, but it was average for him. And so how many of you are available, AKA you're doing what's average, but you're not visible. You're not taking that big leap into doing the thing that's God-sized. He wasn't available enough. And it wasn't a matter of working more. It wasn't that. It wasn't a matter of working more, of giving more effort. But he did have to make a bolder decision. He needed to be visible to expand his efforts. I look now at where he is now, and he's authored now several books. I look now that he's training leaders around the world and ministry team around the world. I look now and he's created courses equipping people in how to effectively incorporate prayer and lead prayer ministries and go on prayer mandates. I look now at the merchandise line that he has, reminding people of who they are by having declarations on their apparel or in their cup. It's as a statement. He stepped out. He decided that he was going to move from available to be invisible. The third shift, let's go back to shift number one. Shift number one, when you're choosing now to step up and be who God called you to be, to move from this passive, really cute faith that we have into this full manifestation of that which God is calling us to steward in hours such as these, is to shift from reasonable to radical. From reasonable to radical. Step two is to shift now, not just from reasonable to radical, but from being available to visible. From available to visible. I'm doing what's safe. I'm doing what's easy. I'm doing what's right next to me, what's in arm's reach. Here's a question I have for you. Where are you settling for availability when God is calling you to high visibility? He wants you to be visible. He's saying, you know what? I appreciate you, daughter, for your availability. I appreciate you, son, for your availability. But I am calling you to a high level of visibility. Where in your life is that happening? Are you keeping your gifts confined in a familiar space? Is fear and complacency preventing you from stepping into larger platforms? You're not even seeking them. As a matter of fact, when they come, you hide them. Can I tell you, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this right now, but I'll go ahead and share since I'm on this. I had been, I wrote this book, and I'll tell you more about it here shortly. I wrote a book, round one, I think, was in 2009. I finished it in 2010. That was the first version of the book. After I published it in 2010, then I took a year working on it, refining it, building it up, and just really working the work, actually, like really perfecting the work, working with more clients. And then I went through a divorce. And so I was doing the work, working the work, writing the work. And then life had happened to me, and I was like, oh, yeah, so me and this work, I'm going to put the work on the shelf for a minute. And I put it on the shelf. I was working the work. I was writing the work. I was capturing what was going on, but I wasn't trying to put out nobody's book. And it probably took me a matter of like 12 years, embarrassed to say, to perfect the work. I was still doing it, but I wasn't going to republish the book. I think I published it 3 years after that, 12 years of massaging it before it got to the next version of the work. And someone reached out to me and said, hey, I got my hands on your manuscript. Excuse me. Yeah, I managed to get my hands on your manuscript. And I was wondering, first of all, how you get your hands on somebody's manuscript? Don't be saying that. I was wondering if we can feature you in this article. Would you be interested? So I was telling my husband about it. He said, it's a scam. My husband is a skeptic. He don't believe everybody on the first try. So I was like, I'm doing my investigative research and asking questions. And I was like, sure, dug a little deeper. It actually was a real legit magazine, actually a reputable magazine among Christian leaders. And they did an article on me. And I'll talk to you about how you can get your hands on that article. Y'all, they featured me. I had the article. It's a 5-page spread. They sent a photographer out to photograph me. Much of the pictures you see on social media that you love so much was from that photo shoot. It was amazing. I was rereading the article just last week, 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, man, Janice, you are brilliant. But can I tell y'all what happened? We did the photo shoot. I submitted the article. The article was published. I have a 5-page spread. I ordered several copies of the magazine so that I can distribute to others. I have new copies of the book in tow. It's updated, expanded. The workbook is completed. And I just sat on it. Yeah, I just sat on it. This happened like almost 2 years ago. I think I'm coming up at the end of this year. It'll be 2 years. 2 years. I sat on it. I just shrunk. And I can, if I'm honest, I was like, oh yeah, that's old already. I've been did that. Oh yeah, I'm on to something else. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no. I'm this, I'm that. I made an excuse. I wasn't ready. I was settling for availability. If they found me, I'd come. If they ask me, I'll talk about it. If they invite me, sure, I'll talk about that. Yeah, girl, yeah, absolutely, I'll come and teach this. And oh, sure, I'll come do this. They asked me to be on a podcast, and I denied them for a year. Sure, I'll come do this at some point when I think about it. I was settling for availability. Y'all, when I read the work in this book, when I read the article over again, when I showed up on the podcast and started talking about these concepts and these principles and looking at the lives of the leaders who God has entrusted in my care, and he's given me principles to help them expand, I'm like, Janice, what are you doing? I was settling for availability. Where are you settling for availability and shrinking from visibility? Shift number 1, if we are going to step up in this hour and steward that which God has entrusted in our care, we got to shift from reasonable to radical with our excuses and our ownership. Go from reasonable excuses to radical ownership of that which he's called you to steward in this hour. Shift number 2 that you have to make, you need to shift from being available to being visible. Your question should be, how can I make God the most visible? Because here's what we know. Here's what we know if you are not just a daughter or son of God. Because listen, we got some of God kids right now. They ain't even acting like they're his kids. So that ain't what I'm talking about. But for those of us, that who you are and what you've been gifted is a gift from the Lord that you are called to steward. It is almost impossible to steward it well without referring back to the gift giver, without referring back to what made it possible, who makes it possible, why you're able to be and do what you're being able to do in this hour. I can't get on nobody's stage without talking about God. I love him. I can't get on nobody's stage and not saying I am who I am because of him. So we got to shift from being available to being visible. And the last shift that I want us to make in this hour, in order to step up and stop shrinking back, is to shift from this passive, cute, patty cake faith to bold, strategic action. Now, in my community, we talk about this all the time, and I'm like, listen, what we ain't gonna have over here, we don't have these passive prayers, this passive faith, and saying these little cutesy things that ain't gonna hit on nothing. Not at this stage of who we are, not at this stage of the journey. Some of you, your faith looks like this, you know what? If God opens the door, then he gonna have to open the door for me. I'm expecting God to open the door. Listen, he opened the doors, you ain't walked through near one of them. You are a leader. It is time for you to wake up and see yourself for who God has called you to be. The way you move, the way you speak, the way you show up, it has to be different, especially in times like this. Now is the time for you to consciously decide that I'm no longer doubting who I am or underestimating what I have to offer, the contribution I'm called to make in this hour. And this is not about being cocky. This is not about being arrogant. And this definitely is not about being delusional. It's so funny because we tend to be on one end of the spectrum. Either we think it's all about us and we thebomb.com and you did this on your own, you self-made all this stuff, or you think you good and you ain't hitting on nothing. Like, this is not about delusion. This is, God has gifted you something. You've stewarded well. You've done the work. You've been in the background working. You've been studying. You've been praying. You've been testing. You've been getting results. It's just been in your local community. It's just been for your friends and family. It's just been in your own life. It's just been where you felt comfortable. This is about refusing to shrink, especially right now when everyone is stepping up and saying madness. And this isn't about leveraging your voice in a way that is reckless or random. I intentionally waited to do this live for the dust to kind of settle, because so we can see really where we are. We can see, are we making bold moves for the king? Or we're over here just touting a bunch of noise? I mean, I'm sure a lot has happened. A lot is going on. There's a lot to talk about. But I'm not talking for talking's sake. to talk for talking's sake, to jump on the bandwagon of complaining, to jump on the bandwagon of, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened, to jump on the bandwagon of fear and anxiety is at best irresponsible. At best irresponsible. Who are we? What was all this work for? It's game time. It's time to lock in. So here's the question I want to ask you. Because when you step up and when you do what you are designed to do, when you step in the role and you have bold faith, not passive faith, you make bold action, spirit-led strategic action. It's the type of action that's going to shift the region, the type of action that's going to change a territory, an industry, a bloodline, a nation. That's who you are. Like, what bold move are you going to make today? I'm not saying one that you can make. Listen, I've been in the game for a long time. As a businesswoman, I've been around for a long time. I'm not saying sending somebody your book and say, hey, could you read my book and tell me what you think? Listen, we passed that. I mean, if you haven't done that yet, I understand. That's not where I'm at. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a bold move, a regional, territorial, industry shifting move. What is that move? It's time, as you step up and you're making a different move, the moves that you're making are not the ones that are easily accessible to most people. See, most of us have gotten stuck because we think that what faith means is about talking about the promise. It's about waiting on God to make the move. It's about praying so hard and saying, yes, God's going to do this. He's going to do this. He's going to do this. And you're sitting there passively by and you're not making a move. You're not making a move. I think about in scripture, one of the easiest examples we have is Noah. What if Noah would have waited before he built the ark? He would have waited till it started raining to build the ark. This is not the time. You've been building a long time ago. Some of you say you trust God with your business ideas, but you don't push yourself out there. You say, I'm called to be a person of influence, yet you refuse to show up. I'm talking to my own self. You ain't showed up nowhere on nobody's platform. You ain't saying nothing of meaning or of status, of meaningful, palatable influence. You just random. But I'm a leader. I'm an influencer. Yeah, you say you were called to transform lives, but you haven't positioned yourself to reach them. So here's what I want to ask you. What is the one move that if you made that move today, it would change the trajectory of your generation, of your bloodline, of your industry? What's that move? I'm talking about the industry shifting move. What's that move? Some of you, Mark Batterson wrote this book, I keep saying, the Circle Maker. I was going to say Prayer Circle. That's the Circle Maker. And he talked about bold prayers, right? Bold prayers, drawing a circle around your bold prayer. I love that book. I think I might reread that book. And he talks about these bold prayers, right? And he talks about how when you have a bold prayer and God answers, he answers in such a way that leaves you amazed and perplexed. Like, what, God? Wait a minute, God, you just blew my mind on that. Like, I'm perplexed that you did it that way, but I'm amazed at your goodness and your power. What's your bold move? What's that move? Is it launching a business that God gave you 5 years ago? Is it stepping onto a stage that makes you so nervous? Is it sending off a proposal, making a call, finishing the book? What's the one thing I want to hear it in the comments? What's the one bold move? What's the one bold move that if you make that move, it has the ability to shift your industry, to shift your bloodline, to shift your generation? What's that move? Now listen, I want you to expand your thinking. In order for you to step up in this hour, I'm not just asking you to step up and say, hey, I'm here. I'm asking you to shift from small thinking to industry shaping. I'm asking you to go global to God-sized thinking. God-sized, that I can't do this thing unless God is with me. It's so big. It is so massive. Only God can make this possible. And I'm here for it. In a few days, I am going to be opening the doors of my flagship program, Jumpstart, how to build, brand, and expand your God-given vision 90 days at a time. I sunset this, I don't know. The last time the program or anything like it was open, it was in 2016. I launched it for the first time in 2007. Its premise is based off of my book, Expand Your Reach Without Emptying Your Pockets. It has helped hundreds of leaders shift how they show up, how they grow and expand the vision that God has given them without compromising their message. I knew when I first launched it, when I first wrote it, when I first created the program, that many leaders that I know and that I had encountered through my work had a heart for the work. They had a heart to serve and a heart to do things that would honor God. Many of them had a willingness to start the work. So it wasn't that they were just excited about the work. They were willing to do the work. But very few were focused on what it actually took to expand the work. And so for many of them, they were best kept secrets. They were local legends. The vision was big in their heart, but small in the manifestation of how it was being carried out. And listen, this is not about numbers and how many people you reach, but if you know the more people you reach, the more people that are free, the more people you reach, the more lives that are changed, the more people you reach, the more your work gets out there, regardless of what that work is, the better we will be off as a nation, as a country, as a territory, as a region. So it's about that. It's when you do what you do, people experience God through you. So the more you do what you do, the more people experience you, the more people experience God. And that's how I started Jumpstart. It's like, well, you know what? What if I could help them? It was one thing for people who can afford my consulting and I did it for them. But what about those who couldn't? So I launched this program way back in 2007. And here we are almost 20 years later. And I've had tons of leaders go through the program and over thousands of lives and people be impacted because of the program, because of the leaders who went through it, who refused to shrink back, but they decided to step up. And so if you know, Janice, I'm ready for that type of support. I have not, like I said, I haven't opened this back up, and I wasn't going to open it back up. I haven't even done anything in the realm of this since 2016 publicly. You know, I have private clients that I do this work with, but I haven't opened it up publicly and offered the boot camp version. But I am. So in a few days, I'm going to be opening up. The boot camp version is 90 days, and I'm going to help leaders build, brand, and expand their vision. And if you know you're ready to step up, especially in times like this, then I want you to drop in the comments, now is my time. Now is my time. Now is my time. So if you know that you're ready, I want you to go ahead and drop now is my time. So let me tell you a little bit about Jumpstart. It's not another leadership course. It is not another inspirational moment. And it's not information with no execution. If you know me and if you just traveled around the interwebs and you've seen any of my clients, they will all tell you I'm a challenger. You know, we're going to do the work. I'm going to teach you the principle so you can do it when I'm not around. I'm a teacher at heart, but we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to do the work. This is not just about thinking, but it's about doing. It's not just about strategy, but it's divinely guided strategy. I'm a woman of prayer, a woman of fasting, a woman of hearing from God. And so as we do this, we're doing this work with God laced in it, with Holy Spirit guiding us. And this is not cookie cutter. So Jumpstart is not a cookie cutter approach to building that which God has entrusted in your care. Because what you are called to do doesn't look like what I'm called to do. It doesn't sound like me, and it doesn't flow in the way that I flow. This is about leveraging your divine design. So uncovering what that looks like and how it's going to impact what you have in this hour to show forth in this time and in this season. So over the course of 90 days, we're going to build. Going to lay a foundation for expansion in alignment with your divine mandate and your divine design. We're going to brand. You're going to get clear on the value that you bring. What is it that you bring and how to communicate it in a way that's compelling and cut through the noise and distraction of the time we live in. And then we're going to expand. We're going to move beyond where we are to new levels of impact, influence, and execution without hesitation or second guessing. So if you already know you want in and you're ready for my direct support, we're going to do this over 90 days. It's pretty flexible how we're going to do it together. Go ahead and put now is my time. Now is my time in the chat. And I look forward to talking with you in the next few days and telling you more about what we have. So whether you do this with me or you do this on your own, I want to remind you that shrinking back is no longer an option. Now is the time for you to step up, to speak up, and to stand up. And when you do that, have something to say, have something to offer. We're in an hour now where we don't have the luxury of being irresponsible with our platform. Now is the time to step up. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.